Folks, the hour of 6:30 has come and actually passed us up here just a little bit. Sorry that we're starting a few minutes late. Would like to open this meeting of, special meeting of District 116 for Wednesday, February 13th, 2019. Roll call, please.
Member Carter.
Here.
Member Hall.
Here.
Member Patton.
Here.
Member Fisher is here. President Demmett.
Here. And President Dimmitt is here.
President, yeah.
I think she almost demoted you.
Oh, I have an order.
We do want to indicate that Paul is at his daughter's final volleyball game of the season and said he would be here just as soon as that game is over. And I bet you Benita is probably having to work just a little bit late tonight, and she'll probably be here as well just as soon as possible. There are no additions, corrections, or modifications to this evening's agenda. We'll begin with citizen statements, and we have one, which is Scott. So, Scott, I think you're the only citizen here tonight, too, so go ahead and...
Hold on, Scott, maybe I need to let you know. 5?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay. My name is Scott Dowds. I think y'all know the rest by now. So I just wanted to officially come up and say thank you to both Peggy and Ann for the response we got to our email about the survey we sent to you all. And I just wanted to say I hope that you all found that survey very helpful, very useful. The group continues to try to get information out there and gather responses from our members as well so that we can hopefully help in the process moving forward with the search for a new superintendent. That's really it. I just want to, again, say thank you for everything you guys are doing, and hopefully that helped. So, thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, I read the survey with interest, too, and noticed that there's many divergent opinions there, which shows that your group is reflective of the entire district.
Yes,
So,
I agree. I agree. It seems like you were able to reach a vast number of people.
so, all right, any others?
That was
Yeah,
all.
please turn it off, yes. No. Anyone else wish to address the board? There's no other citizens here this evening, so I think not. With that, we'll close, and there'll be no exec session after tonight's meeting. We do need a motion to approve the single item agenda tonight, which is a planning meeting with our search consultants to talk about the superintendent's and associate superintendent report.
So moved.
Searches.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. We were provided with a sub-agenda, I guess I could call it, from our consultants a couple of days ago. I hope everyone's had a chance to look through that. And with that, I will turn it over to School Exec Connect. Oh, make sure your mic is green.
Okay, is that better?
Perfect.
I'm going to have to get used to this, so just yell at me if you need to. We're certainly happy to be here with you again tonight. The first thing that I want to say is that the document that you were given is a very tentative, very fluid document. What we do is frame out a scope for a search, and then we have to see how that works within what you're looking for in your search, timelines and all that stuff, very fluid. So we choose not to make this document public at this point in time, simply because we don't want incorrect dates, incorrect information, incorrect process to get out and be distributed, and then it's not what you finally decide to do. So we want one single piece of information going out as we finish the planning and as we progress through the search. So everything that's in this document will be made public at some point or another during the search. So we just want the public to be aware, we want the board members to be aware that we're not trying to do anything in secret. We're going to be very transparent through all of our planning, but we just don't want to put things out yet because it's still fluid, and once we decide on things for sure, then we will definitely get things out to the public. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay. So just as a little bit of an outline of what we're going to talk about tonight, we've got really 5 parts of our discussion. And the first one is going to be some general decisions and discussion about just the overall search process. that we want to kind of nail down. The second part, we will talk about probably a little bit more in length, and that's going to be how we're going to engage stakeholders and throughout the process, so we'll talk about a lot of that. Then we're going to actually talk about the timeline. We used to talk about that first, and we decided it's maybe a little easier to talk about that after you know what's going on. Then we decide how how and when we're going to do things. So then we will talk about the search timeline. Fourth, we will talk about any kind of advertising decisions that the board would like to engage in. And then at the end, if there's anything that we haven't covered that you're interested in or you want to add or you want to discuss, we have some time at the end that we can talk about anything else that we haven't brought up, if there's anything that you're interested in. Okay? Sound like a plan? All right. So the first decision that needs to be made is whether or not you want to do a confidential search or an open search. We know that we talked about this a little bit, excuse me, a little bit in our presentation, and we have the opinion that the board would like to do more or less a confidential search until you get to the end, where you have 3 finalists that you name, and at that point in time, you would like to have those 3 finalists' names be made public. So we want to know if that's still the desire of the board.
And I know you wanted this first, but in my notes and thinking about this, I thought we ought to really know more about, the board as a whole ought to know more about the process.
Absolutely.
And then make that decision.
We can do that.
And so, I think I'm in agreement with your process, but we ought to maybe hear more about it and then weigh in on that.
Sure.
So if, I don't want to go out of here tonight without that decision being made.
We
but-
won't leave without knowing
Yeah.
which way you're going to
Yeah.
go. Okay,
but,
we can defer that.
But I'm hoping that maybe that could be at the end.
We can sure do that. Okay, the next one will be really easy then. We need to have designated a board contact and then a district contact for us to work with while we're doing the search. We're going to be constantly in communication with these 2 people or persons, if you decide to choose more than 2. The board contact typically is the board president. It doesn't have to be the board president. There won't be a lot of contact, but we will CC you on just, about anything that we do. The district contact is going to be the person that we're going to be really working with the most, and that's the person who's going to be scheduling things for us, doing logistics for us, like when we do focus groups and open forums. We need somebody to, get that all set up for us, somebody to actually make sure things get posted to the website, just the day-to-day things. So could you give us who you would like for the board liaison to be and for the district liaison?
And I'm comfortable in being that.
I'd be happy with that. Yeah.
So, all
Thank you,
right.
John.
For the district, in terms of the real nitty-gritty of scheduling and doing those kinds of things, we do rely a lot on Lori for that. I'm assuming, Lori, that all the communication, if you were that appointed person, that all the communication, that you would be sharing that with Preston
And MC,
and MC.
the web stuff.
Um,
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting it be the superintendent at this case,
Right.
because it's an interim superintendent,
Right.
and Preston has his hands full
Yeah.
with lots of other things that we've got him working on. And so my recommendation is Lori. I don't know
Yeah,
what the other.
no, I would if you're okay with that. You've got plenty to do, but you're the obvious choice. Yeah. Yeah. She's very good
We're
at it.
hoping you'd pick Lori.
Yeah, she's very good at
Yes.
that, so.
And we know she likes chocolate, so.
Yeah. Good thing to know, yes.
She might not be the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
well,
right.
okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
We know they like chocolate. Okay, Lori and John. The third thing we'd like to talk about as far as a general decision goes, it has to do with internal candidates. We don't know if there may be some internal candidates. You may not know whether or not there would be some internal candidates. We need to know how you would like for us to treat the internal candidates through the search process. Our recommendation would be that the internal candidates, if any, would be treated just like any other candidate. Sometimes boards advise us that they would like to have us at least have the internal candidates have an audience with the board. When we get to the first round interviews, they would like to be the ones to screen in or screen out the internal candidates in the process. Some boards want us to do that based on, you know, stacking them up against all the other candidates, based on their qualifications, based on their interview. So what is your pleasure as far as how to handle internal candidates, if we have any?
Well, I appreciate your recommendation that they be treated like all others, and if that is the case, then you're saying they wouldn't be necessarily have a private audience
Right.
with the board unless they kind of rose to the top.
Right. Mhm.
Which, I guess if we wanted to be treated like all others, then that makes sense.
That's exactly what I was thinking,
Yeah.
Peggy,
Yeah.
because we don't really want to show favoritism. We're very excited if there is a lot of internal candidates, or even just a few, and we'd like to give everybody the opportunity to kind of prove themselves through this interview process.
Yeah, and we've heard a lot from the board, and we've got the perception, at least, that you want a very transparent, clear process, and we're going to make sure that is realized. And our opinion is, and what works best in our experience, is to treat them the same in that everyone is held to the same measure, which is the profile that we'll develop with a lot of stakeholder support, stakeholder help in the survey, and the stuff that we're going to talk about under Section 2.
Having been the internal candidate before for a position similar, but not in education, there's a certain amount of value to the internal candidate to be tested and compete on an equal footing with everyone else.
We agree.
If that isn't the case, then sometimes it doesn't empower the internal candidate to act with the same level of confidence that an external candidate would.
Exactly.
So I would be in favor of the equal treatment.
Can I just get clarified? I know you talked about this at the presentation, but, you know, since you'll be doing since you may be doing the initial screening and then bringing us the final three, we will know who all the candidates were, who were.
They're actually going to be bringing us the final 7.
Or the
so-
final, that's right, the
We'll
final
bring you
seven.
5 to 7.
Five to
Right.
5 to
So
7.
the ones that you don't bring to us, will we know the names of all those? Okay, I guess that's my only, maybe it doesn't matter, but would we want to know if there was an internal candidate that did not rise to that 5 or 7? Would that be
We
something?
could tell you that much. We
Oh.
could tell you whether or not there was an internal candidate, but we would not give you the names of everybody that applied.
Okay. I'm just wondering if that might be beneficial for us to know that there was someone internally who was serious about the job but didn't rise to that level. We'd want to know that. I don't know.
Okay, so let's go over this again.
Mhm.
When we get to, like, the last phase, we'll be able to know how many candidates from, like,
Yes.
around the world that we
Yes.
got.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We'll
Mhm.
have a number,
We'll give you this, we'll give
No
you
names.
statistics, yes.
and then you're bringing us a slate
Right.
in the end, and at that point, we'll have some names.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The 5 to 7 that we, through our own processes.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, thank you. The
Yeah.
5 to 7 that we feel, based on our experience in our interviews and our vetting process, match the profile that's been developed, that we will
Okay.
present to you before we bring the final 5 to 7 to you.
And
So you'll know what the profile
And
looks
then
like.
at that point, you can let us know if there had been internal candidates that we would not know their names.
Absolutely.
Okay, just
Okay.
every little
Okay.
step so that I'm
Sure.
understanding it, can repeat it to others
Yeah.
Sure.
correctly.
Sure.
I'm on board.
Yeah.
And, I mean, maybe this isn't an issue at all. Our community being next door to another district, and we've had people, it's sometimes been fluid, our borders, and so some people, I mean, they're not technically internal candidates, but they're people, they're colleagues we may have worked with before. I mean, they're not going to be treated any differently, but again, I don't know, is there any special case for anything like that? Or there's just Urbana internal candidates and everybody else, you know?
We would consider an internal candidate somebody who's already on your payroll.
Okay, but not necessarily anybody who's previously worked in our district?
No.
Okay.
That seems fine.
Mhm.
We have consensus on that then? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The next component that we would like to talk about, there is an attachment in your packet. It's the very first one, A. And I'm going to let Kevin talk about this a little bit.
So we heard that the LUDA districts is a good place at least to start the conversation of getting you ready to put together a compensation package for whoever the finalists might be down the road. One of the things that we do, just to refresh memories, is to give you a list of whatever districts you think you want to compare to, and give you full benefits and salary packages for existing positions in those districts, existing superintendent positions in those districts. So what I did is I went on the LUDA website and just did a little research, and these are the districts in LUDA, members of LUDA, who are between 80 and 70, the top part of the sheet there. And then I threw in the two that are just below 70 but north of 64. And the only one that's south of 64 that's in LUDA is Marion. So this is perhaps a good place to start for those comparables, but we also want to hear from the board and board members individually, what other districts do you compare yourselves to in terms of either demographics or village structure or anything that you think is a good comparable kind of facet? And we'll
Actually-
add that to the list here.
Actually, I would narrow it down.
Okay?
When we work with our union, we have a comparable list of districts that
Okay.
we use as well. And from your list, that would include Kankakee, McLean, Bloomington, Champaign, Danville, Springfield, and Decatur. And we like to think of those as more or less the east central or from central
Mhm.
to east.
Sure.
Some of these are in western Illinois. Peoria is much, much larger than us.
Yes.
And others are western Illinois. I suppose that Ball Chatham has not been on our list before because they're growing maybe they're roughly our same size now, but they didn't used to be. And they're also a suburban district as opposed to
Yep.
an identified
Right.
city.
Central community, right.
Central
Right.
community. But those are the districts that we've used when drawing other comparisons, and I
Okay.
think that if that's the group that we compare when we deal with our teaching staff, that that's probably who we should look to when we,
And
talk
and
about
those
our
comparables have
administrative
worked
staff.
for you in
Yes, they have.
those kinds of
Okay.
processes?
some
Okay.
are on the low side, some are on the high
Sure,
side,
sure,
but generally,
Sure.
and generally
That's a
speaking,
good starting point.
we're in the middle.
Okay?
Okay.
So I'm hearing, just so just from the board president, at least at this point, that Kankakee, McLean, Bloomington, Champaign, Danville, Springfield, and Decatur are the ones you'd like included.
Yes, we used to include Mattoon, but yeah, I see it's not here on the list.
We can add whatever, this is a discussion, we
Mhm.
want your input.
Yeah.
If
Who
you
do you
feel like
want us
you
to
want
compare
to
you to?
include any other districts, we're happy to do that.
I mean, if you've done that,
Mattoon used to be part of our peer group.
yeah, well,
They just aren't a LUDA member.
They're not
That's why
members
they're
of
not
LUDA.
on-
That's
that's
kind of,
why they're
that was
not
our
on the
starting
list.
point.
right,
Well, and it's been some time, and so
Mhm.
maybe they've dropped down below
yeah.
And also where our teams play at has
Your
has
conference.
always
Conference,
sort of
yeah,
matched.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And that has changed, school district-wide also. I
Okay.
think, last couple of years.
the, that would add Peoria in, but Peoria is a community with multiple high schools. and
Yep.
Mhm.
There's a lot of differences between
Right.
Peoria and
A-
ourselves.
Absolutely. And none of these are going to be perfect matches for Urbana. Urbana is unique,
Mhm.
and this is just, gives you a better, broader picture of what
Right.
other districts are paying superintendents, basically. And it's a good starting point for discussions that you have with the candidate.
This would be the core. It could be that through your professionalism, you see the need to also talk about these others, but that would be the core that we would feel would be equivalent.
These 7, is there any board
Yes.
member or any consensus that you want us to add anybody at this point? This is not a done deal after tonight. We can always add or
Yeah.
subtract. This is
Right.
just a starting point for us to start our research.
Yeah.
We'll have to reach out to them and do some digging to get these numbers. They're not hard to get, but sometimes it takes some time.
I'm comfortable with those 7, that makes sense, I mean, I think it's a logical comparison.
I
Yeah.
agree.
If you find there's an aberration in there and we need to put more in.
One of the things included is the enrollment and those kinds of things. So you'll know if there's an outlier in terms of student population or some other demographic. But you'll have lots of data to look at, and that's a good starting point.
And I like the fact that you say that we can amend it if
Absolutely.
if we find that
Absolutely.
there are outlier,
Absolutely.
more than one outlier in here, and we need to bring more in to have a statistically appropriate amount.
We're
And-
happy to do
And what we
whatever.
can do is we can do these 7, and then if we find some outliers, we can just put them in their own section at the bottom, and you'll have them,
Sure.
instead of
And give-
approving each school's name that we come up
and
with,
give-
you know,
give
each
them
time.
whatever
Yeah.
consideration you'd like.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you. So let's start talking about stakeholder and community engagement in the process. There are multiple ways that we're recommending that we include stakeholders in the community and your school community and the physical community in the process. We think that we heard that you want to have community participation, stakeholder participation. We believe that the more transparent, the more people we can have involved, the better. And so with that in mind, we would recommend that community and stakeholders be involved in 3 different ways through the search process. 2 of those, 4 ways, 4 ways. 3 of those ways would be giving input and feedback to us about who would be the ideal candidate. Different skills, characteristics, traits about, who we would like to have. Information about what's good about your school district and what's good about your community here, as well as what are the challenges going on with your school district and what are the challenges going on in your community, so that we can get a good handle on who we're looking for. So there's a couple of different ways, there's 3 different ways that your stakeholders can give information and feedback and input on that. One of those ways is to participate in the online survey that we will create. We have a sample, kind of a standard one that we use, that we included for you to take a look at. That would be open to anybody in your community. Okay, so anybody could take advantage of that and give us feedback and input through that survey. The second way is to participate in an open forum that we will have. We will schedule at least 1, possibly 2, open forums for community members and then also for staff members. We want to have the staff separately because they're more intimately involved with the school system, okay? What we typically find in those open forums, and we hope that's not the case here, but what we typically find is that there's very low attendance at them. The public just doesn't show up, doesn't come. For whatever reason, they don't. I did the Springfield search several years ago. Springfield's a big area, and we had, on 2 hands, you can count the number of people that came. And so that's very typical. We've been at open forums for community where nobody has showed up. But it's an opportunity, and that's what the board needs to do, is provide an opportunity for stakeholders to become engaged. So we would like to host an open forum for the community to come, and we're going to ask them basically those same things and document everything that they're saying. We're going to take notes and then do the same thing with the staff members. Now, the staff member one will get some attendance, but it won't be attended nearly like what you think it would be, probably, if all things happen like they do in the other districts. So we want to say that to the board members because we don't want you to be really shocked and disappointed when we give you the results of what the attendance was like. But again, we just hope that a lot more people will come because we want everyone to be able to give their input about, what they would like to see.
So we would typically ask Lori or whomever we deal with to set aside a room large enough for a large group, maybe an auditorium or something like that, or a gymnasium, or a large media center if you have one in the district. I'm hoping that we'll have several hundred people show up.
Right.
But to Diane's point, it just rarely happens. I did Lake Zurich School District 2 years ago. 8 schools and maybe 9,500 kids, I had one person show up. And we do all kinds of advertising on the website, through our, you know, through our releases and things like that, press releases, so, it's not that we don't and you don't project the fact that there's lots of ways for community members to have input. It just doesn't happen.
At this stage of the game, we have a lot of public interest in this search right now, so.
Right. Yeah.
We
Good,
hope,
great,
we see a
great.
lot of people.
We'd like that.
We hope we see a lot of people.
We'd like
We
that.
really do.
Good, good. That
Also-
makes me happy,
Yeah.
it's good.
And Urbana is a participatory community, so.
Good.
Good.
And also, I wonder, I mean, we do have regular meetings for various parent advocacy groups already that have pretty good attendance, and so
Good.
I wonder if that would be something that,
Well, that's the next part.
yeah, like,
okay?
I mean,
Yeah.
instead of having a separate meeting that's just attached to one of the regularly planned meetings, so that those people who have already gone are now going to be like a captive audience to taking part in that.
That would be okay if you wanted us to come back each time somebody met.
Yeah,
So when we
Use
get
that.
to the third part that they can participate in, which would be the focus groups.
yeah,
Okay.
okay, sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
That's
No,
okay, that's okay, that's
why we're
okay.
here.
Okay.
We wanna make you
Your
comfortable with the
your
process.
thought is exactly what we're wanting to get at there, is you have established groups, okay? We would like to have representatives from those different groups and from different entities that make up your district and your community. We want to talk to all walks of life here. We want to get a good cross-section. So we want to talk to, I mentioned some groups in there. We're definitely going to be talking to you guys, okay? We've got to hear from the board what you're looking for. We want to talk to your administrators. We want to talk to your teachers. We want to talk to your non-certified staff members. We want to talk to central office people. We want to talk to parents. We want to talk to your business community. We want to talk to just community members at large. We want to talk to your booster groups. We want to talk to your high school students. We want to talk to all different groups, okay? And so there's going to have to be a way to figure out how you're going to determine who is going to represent those groups. Our focus groups, we'd like to have it about 10 to 15 people per group, and you can have as many groups as you want. In our time schedule, when we talk about that in a little bit, you're going to see that we've set aside 2 whole days and evenings for that. And we don't have to do them all together. You know, we can do, he can be doing one while I'm doing one, you know.
We could do 2 at once, and she might have your PTO, and I might have your junior, senior high school members. Sometimes
Yeah,
some council officers or whatever, that's sometimes what a school district will do.
So we can cover a lot of different groups. What we need the board to do is identify which groups you want us to hold focus groups with. Now, these won't be open to just anybody and everybody.
By
These will
invitation.
be focused groups, okay? But like if the PTO, PTA has a group, we recommend that you have the PTO, PTA leadership decide who those people are gonna be. So you guys aren't there saying, oh my gosh, we gotta figure out who all's coming, okay? For the teachers, we'd like to have teachers, you know, representation from each level, elementary, middle school, high school. Best way to do that is have the teachers union decide who's going to be representative of them. You know, civic associations, if you have a chamber of commerce, or groups in the community, you know, have them decide who those representatives are gonna be that we meet with. Parents, parents is kind of a harder way to decide. Sometimes we just have the school administration or the school secretary just randomly pick people, or
If
you
you
could, or you
establish
could,
PTO,
you
they
could,
can pick people.
they could, you know, include more parents in with the PTO members, or maybe that group doubles and it's the parent PTO group. Is it PTO or PTA here? PTA,
Hey,
okay.
Yeah.
Gotta remember that.
Yeah.
I do too.
So we need to have a little bit of conversation then about what groups would you like for us to talk to as focus groups? And in the focus groups, we're going to be asking the very same thing again. We're going to be finding out what's going on here, what's good, what are the challenges, who are you looking for? You know, we want to have a little bit more detailed conversation with a smaller group. When we're in an open forum, we can't spend that time getting everybody's opinion. So it's going to be a closed type setting, but we can't really say closed session, but it's kind of what it is. We just really need to get into some detail about, and the only reason we're doing this is so that we can figure out who's going to be a good person or a good match for what's going on in the district.
But I did note, in response to the large groups are too big to get everybody's opinion. But I did notice that you have a questionnaire that you have everybody that attends
Yes,
those meetings
yes,
fill out.
we do.
So
we
you
do.
do get their input.
They do get
in-
to have
in
their
that-
input, yes.
In that way.
Yes. Mhm.
For purpose of our listening audience, I wanted them to hear that.
Okay, okay, yes.
And one of the
Watching.
reasons we do that is because sometimes in a large open forum, if you have 100 people, you may not feel comfortable standing up
Right.
and raising your concerns or addressing this. It gives them yet another avenue for input to the Board of Education on their finalist decisions. So it helps us to create that profile that's so key to the process.
So before we zero in on who those groups are going to be, for the audience out here, I want to explain why we have these different venues and what we're going to do with those different venues. We're going to take all the information we get from the survey, the online survey. We're going to take all the information we get from the focus groups. We're going to take all the information we get from the open forums or the written responses. We're going to take the information we get from the board members. We're going to put all that together and see what keeps coming up over and over and over again. Because those are our central themes, and if those are on everybody's mind, that must be what's going on here. So if we get one group that's way out here in the left field and one group that's way out in the right field, we're going to listen to what they have to say. We're going to take it into consideration while we're looking for the right person, but we're really going to put a lot of emphasis on what do we keep hearing. We just keep hearing it over and over and over again. Okay? So that's the purpose for gathering in several different ways. And then we'll take those common themes that we keep hearing and we'll use that to develop our profile. Okay? All right, so now let's go back to focus groups. What focus groups would you like for us to schedule with Lori? This is going to be her fun task.
Lots of
in this whole thing, yeah. Lots of chocolate on this one. And these guys are going to write down.
I think definitely staff members, whether we do all staff or maybe like the, I don't know,
Our
leadership,
recommendation is
how
to
do you-
Teachers,
Mhm.
9 certificated staff, and administrators and central office staff, 4 different focus groups.
I agree with that.
That's
Yeah.
what we do. Only because we think it's a cross-section, they all have different viewpoints, and they have different interactions with the superintendent, and we just think that's a nice round way to gather information. Is there some consensus?
A couple of the other
there?
groups, yes, a couple of the other groups that I thought, the Ministerial Alliance.
Good.
um,
We've done them before.
Okay. The formal name of Scott's group.
Well, hold the phone.
Urbana Schools Parent Advocacy.
Parent Advocacy Group.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have an Urbana Business Association, which is a smaller organization than the Chamber, and so I think those two together can make up one.
Okay.
But we would need the Chamber of Commerce as well as the Urbana Business Association, UBA.
Okay.
And so if you're looking for
Bless you.
10 or 15 in those kind of groups, I would probably split it down the middle and have the Chamber appoint half and have the Urbana Business Association appoint half
As one group,
as one group.
Mhm.
okay?
Yeah, I don't see the need for both.
Okay.
We do have an intergovernmental council here, which is our park district, our city, county, and so forth, and so governmental leaders.
I think that would be
That'd be a good group.
Can you tell me the name of the group again, Lori? Intergovernmental group?
Yeah, close enough. It's an informal.
Okay.
I think students also should be able to have a say in this.
Yep.
How you've done that in the past, I would be curious about, because we do have a large student body, so how have you done that in the past with students?
Typically, in the past, it has been high school students, and it has been based off of student council,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean that's how yours has to
It has
be.
to be, but
But
that has
that's what has worked before, because student council has representatives from each of the different
Great.
levels,
Yeah.
ages,
Mhm.
and the students are typically elected by their peers,
Peers.
right?
Right now, that's not a particularly,
If that's not a good
I
cross-section.
don't think it's the best place to, it might be a starting spot,
Okay,
but it's not inclusive of all of our students. And I
Right.
think that when you meet with our students, it needs to be a little more inclusive in that.
okay,
And I would take some recommendations from the high school administration on how to achieve that, but there is a Congress of Homerooms, for instance,
okay.
that's probably a little bit more inclusive than student council.
Student council, okay.
There's class officers.
Mhm.
There's the after-school, like the other interest groups, the clubs, you
Yeah.
know, that are more specialized.
But I
Yeah.
agree that there has to be a student group.
Absolutely.
If you're allowing more than one, I would think at 15 each, that maybe even two groups out of the
Two
high school.
student groups,
Maybe one that would be student council focused and another that would be
Random.
These
Random.
interest groups or, yeah.
but done in a way to ensure
Yeah.
inclusiveness.
okay.
So we would work with the high school principal to determine the.
And our interim
the member
superintendent.
group? Okay.
And the
Okay.
interims, yeah.
When we say we, we're talking about Lori.
Yeah, that's right, royal we, yeah.
I
Lori's
understand.
gonna be working with.
Unfortunately, the high school principal is new this year as well. and
Oh,
so,
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why we're suggesting that it be, I don't think all the onus for this should be on
Okay.
Ms. Brown.
That's fine.
There has to be a little bit of balance.
Fair enough.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, so how many groups did we just identify?
You want me to read back?
Yeah, could you?
I've got board members, the admin team, teachers, non-certificated staff, central office staff, Urbana Schools Parent Advocacy Group. You get that right? Okay. One group combined between the Urbana Business Association and the Chamber, an intergovernmental group, and two groups of students.
Yes.
That's what I have right now.
I was thinking about possibly the Urbana Neighborhood Connections to reach out and, you know, have a group meet there. Did you say the Minstrel Alliance? in it?
John
I
did, yeah.
put
Yes.
John
Jasper
said
in.
that, but I don't remember if you
Yeah.
said that or not, Mr. O'Meara.
Would that be?
I don't
part of
think-
the-
Let's start combining some.
Yeah, some have to be combined.
Well,
I mean, Interfaith Alliance, maybe with Community Coalition or the Racial Equity Task Force, Champaign County Racial Equity Task Force. I mean, maybe
yes,
three, or those
Yeah.
could, there's some overlap.
because some of these can occur during the day. I'm assuming
Absolutely.
some
Yeah.
of these groups are groups that can meet in the day.
Mhm.
Other groups will have to meet in the evening just because of work schedules and
Mhm.
conflicts.
I would like to see a Spanish language only group from our families, who many of whom are particular for dual language programs here. We also have to be mindful of the fact, I'm not sure you're aware, but we have an early childhood program, an adult education program,
Mhm.
and we also have a school that's catering toward the needs of kids who are basically in an orphanage situation. So I don't know what we could do for the kids over at Gerber, but
That's hard,
that's hard.
because they go in and out.
But the other two groups, I think we need to be, the early childhood group and the adult ed group should have a voice in this too.
So when you say group, do you mean parents?
Well, not for adult ed necessarily,
Okay.
but for the early childhood school.
Because they would be included in staff.
And the administrators, wouldn't you think that the administrators of each of those programs as well, certainly they
Well,
would
they
be.
would,
And-
but make sure when we're talking about parents, that we're also
Oh.
including parents of those services.
Gotcha.
So that when we have the parent group, that all of
Mhm.
those schools are all those programs are represented.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
French program too.
I was going to
We
say
need a
that, Paul, we
translation
need
for
a
that.
translation.
It'd be nice
for
to
the
have,
French
an
program.
actual translator there for a Spanish
Yeah, we're
language
gonna-
or French language.
Translation services is one of
Mhm.
our topics coming
Yeah,
up.
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
because they're unique communities
Right.
too, you know, that come
Right.
from a lot of
They-
places outside the US, so.
They might only
Right.
be comfortable coming out in a group that's
Right.
exclusively
Mhm.
Spanish
For them,
language.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, Kevin, where are we at now?
Okay, so I've got board members, admin, teachers, non-certificated staff, central office staff, Urbana Schools Parent Advocacy Group, a combined group of Urbana Business Association and Chamber, the Intergovernmental Group, 2 sets of student groups, the Ministerial Alliance, and at least one parent group, perhaps more than one, inclusive of French, Spanish, French and native Spanish speakers. Is that
Yes.
accurate?
What's your number? I wasn't counting
If
with
we
my
count
head.
parents as 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 groups.
I thought that was better.
About 45 minutes. We have you schedule them an hour apart, and about 45, 50 minutes we'll spend with the people, and then 10 minutes to one group go out and another group come in.
I think that's a real good starting spot. And
Yeah, I think
if
so
we
too.
hear
One-
from people that we've left out somebody, we can add a 14th. day.
I just thought of one.
But we're getting,
Well, we also have the board, well, you've got the board, okay.
Board was the first one.
We also have the open forums that we have to leave time for.
Yeah.
And those, you know, typically
in
we
those 2
do.
days. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Typically, but we can add another day if we need to. I
Yeah.
mean, if we need to add more time, we can
We
do that.
absolutely will.
We absolutely can. Lost my train of thought.
No, the 2
Okay.
open forums.
The 2 open forums, we usually do the staff one kind of like right as after school lets out, so that they can come to it before they, you know, leave for the night or whatever. And then the parent one, we always want to have that one at night,
Yes.
so that people can make it, or the community one, the community one.
So they could be included in the parent group, or there could be crossover, but also for all of our students with disabilities or IEPs,
Mhm.
you know, to have a parent representative, or, I mean, Todd, you know, other people who do the services, I
Mhm.
definitely want a voice from them as well.
So
I
as
would
part
think-
of
I
our
think that might
parent
be as we
group.
begin to structure the
Yeah, I
second
mean-
parent group, that we
Yeah.
can
Okay.
talk about those kind of interest
Yeah.
groups and make
If we're
sure.
intentional about who we pick for
Mhm.
these groups, that
Right.
might solve some of these issues.
Yeah, and the
Right.
people in the
Absolutely.
administrators
Your
in charge of all of
administrators
these groups will make sure that
Absolutely.
they're
should be able to
represented.
get you a good
Mhm.
cross-section of people.
I'm thinking when you get, you know, we're pushing 15 groups, and that's a lot of,
It
that's
is.
a lot.
We're happy to do whatever you tell us to do.
But remember,
Yeah.
there's 3 of us,
Right.
okay?
Right.
And we have 2 days, and so we don't all have, we won't be in the same groups necessarily, so
Right.
we can
We can cover a lot of
We can
ground.
cover a lot of ground. And if Lori's having trouble getting it all worked out in her puzzle, we'll just have to take a look at another date and make sure that we accommodate.
We'll make it work.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else from other board members? I think we're ready to.
Yeah.
Okay?
to-
Okay, the next thing I want to talk about, I guess, is the participation in the finalist interviews. Our process recommends that when we get to the end, the final stage, which is the interview stage, and we present our slate of 5 to 7 candidates for the board to interview, that the board alone interviews those candidates and narrows down to 3 finalists. And then we recommend that when the board brings those 3 finalists back for a second interview, that we also have 2 committees interview those 3 finalists to give feedback to the board in the form of strengths and weaknesses of each candidate, not rank ordering them, not picking, because the board alone chooses, but to give you some feedback and some input that you can consider as you're deciding which one of the 3 you would like to court as your new superintendent. How we've done this in the past is to have the administrators also would be in there. It's important for the administration to also, talk with the future boss, and for the future boss to get to know the administrative team that they've got. Typically, we, in the faculty, staff, and in the community member one, we like to pull people who were already involved in the focus groups to be on that interview team. If they've already been identified, they've already been involved in the process, And it's just a good, smooth flow to then invite some of those people, like maybe two parents, maybe one civic member, maybe one, a cross-section of all those different groups then be involved in that interview phase when you get to those final three.
Okay.
Again, they don't rank out order at the end of the interview.
Uh-huh.
They're not sharing notes or anything. They just give feedback to the Board of Education. We train them.
Yeah.
We give
Yeah.
them confidentially,
Mhm.
well, I guess we don't have to do it at this point. You just give feedback form sheets to the board, so you consider
Mhm.
them, you give them whatever weight you choose to give them.
Mhm.
It's your
Sure.
decision.
I agree
Now, the
with
board,
that.
so our question is, do you want to do that?
Yes.
Yes.
And when you said two different groups, I mean,
Actually, it'd be three different groups.
three different groups, so there'd be
Yeah.
groups of perhaps staff, teachers, groups of perhaps parents, and groups of community people, is that how?
No,
No.
we would have a parent community group,
Oh, okay. Uh-huh,
a staff member group, which is going to have your certified and your non-certified in it,
okay,
and then your administrators,
gotcha.
okay?
Those are the
Yes.
three groups that are.
The three groups that would
Mhm.
interview the three finalists
Mhm.
and give input to the board.
And so then along those lines, and maybe you're getting to this, of doing this in one day or doing it across 3
Right.
days. I prefer the across 3 days,
That works
Um,
best.
because there's a feeling of rush when
Mhm.
you've got 3 at once and
Mhm.
you're doing round robin.
Mhm.
And
There's a lot of scheduling that
there's
has
a
to
lot of
happen when you
scheduling
do
that
that
goes
too.
on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And in your literature too, there's an opportunity, suggested that there'd be an opportunity for some informal time with the candidate, with the finalists and
Yes.
the board. And that's hard to do if you're doing it in a round
Yes.
robin.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so I prefer the multiple day. I'm assuming the other board, this is usually a board that does its homework, so I'm assuming the
That's
rest
good.
of you read this as well and would comply with that. I do want to go back to the questionnaire.
Sure.
So before the night's over.
Sure.
So, other board members?
Comfortable with that? Okay.
This is our time, because that
Yeah.
means that all of us are going to give up 3 days at the end. And it's a full day,
I mean, yeah.
it's a,
We have
it's,
to.
yeah.
It's the most important decision you
close
make
to a full
as a
day.
board.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Mhm. Okay.
okay.
In your packet, then, you will see, before we get into the translation services, I'm sorry, attachment B, this is a sample letter that we would recommend that you put on your website when we get ready to announce the search,
Uh-huh.
official announcement. And what this does is kind of lays out the opportunities that will be available for the stakeholders to become engaged. It talks about the survey, when the link will be available. And again, this is all fluid. We'll have to change some dates and things in here.
Mhm.
We would have this translated into Spanish and French as well, so you'd have 3 versions that would go out
Mhm.
onto your website. It just kind of lays out generally the process and how they can be involved,
Mhm.
okay?
Very transparent, very clear about how to get involved.
Mhm.
Ample opportunities for people to get involved, which is what you want.
Attachment C is the survey. That would be available in English, Spanish, and French to be taken.
Mhm.
And again, it's just asking the same questions in a little bit different format. At the end, there is an open question, and this open question, it's on page 8 of your document,
Mhm.
basically says, what would you like the School Exec Connect consultants to know?
Mhm.
Is there anything else you would like them to know? This is not to the board. This
Mhm.
is to us.
Mhm.
We don't want them talking to you about expulsions or about teachers or about programs or whatever. We want them talking to us about what else do you think would be important for us to know as
Mhm.
we're conducting this superintendent search, okay? That information is going to go to us. It's not going to be shared with the board.
Mhm.
It will not be shared out in public.
Mhm.
This is just for us to have some more information. We're doing that because lots of times people will put people's names in there, and we don't need that
Mhm.
all out, okay?
And So looking at, and I forgot to write down the place.
Okay?
Some, I know this is a sample online survey
Yes.
that can be
Tweaked.
tweaked.
Mhm.
Somewhere you have a question about Common Core.
Mhm.
And to me.
Page 7.
That's,
Third from the
I thought it was
top.
on page 7, and I was
Mhm.
looking for it, and I guess I was reading too quick.
Yeah,
To me,
top.
the top, yeah.
that's a non-issue
Mhm.
in this community. But more importantly in this community would be something, a question put together about either using the multi-tiered discipline system, MTSS, or restorative justice. So we need to structure a question about that
Okay.
that's in here from my perspective.
Scratch the Common Core one
Yes,
and insert.
I don't think people in this community are talking about that anymore.
Which,
Well-
you mentioned two different descriptions, I think, for a similar program. Which would you prefer us to use?
I leave it to the board to have, I'm one of
Some
7.
input, okay.
Or the superintendent or Jean, our assistant superintendent. What are parents hearing from their schools? Because maybe the principals are still talking Common Core. I don't know what's being filtered down today. Maybe it's ESSA, maybe it's.
Those are two very different things, like the
Mhm.
Common Core,
I understand.
right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean,
And what I was talking about is our, this district has an overriding commitment to restorative justice, and somehow that needs to be reflected here. So that to give the opportunity for people to assign that a priority against these other matters that you have listed under the district
Well,
priorities.
we do have 2 places already in here that talk about student conduct and discipline and about staff, student safety. And we might be able to wrap in the restorative justice
Yes, because right now that's a
with those.
yeah,
yeah.
Mhm.
particularly relevant topic
It's a
that the
front
new
burner issue.
this new superintendent is definitely going to have
Yes.
to be aware of that initiative and how to move those priorities forward.
But are you
this-
suggesting that you would combine it with student conduct and discipline? Because I think it needs to be a standalone.
It's a standalone.
Okay, let's
As
make it,
restorative- And I
let's
think
make
restorative practices, I think, more than restorative justice. I mean, I think
practices.
it's my view, that's a broader term for how we address it.
Much better choice of words.
Restorative practices, and
And
I,
And again, this is
Mhm.
like asking whether or not this is an area of strength
mhm.
or whether this is an area of weakness.
I was looking at it under priorities. on
It can
page
be there,
7.
it can be there too.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking
It
priorities.
probably should be in all 3 places.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think attention to racial equity, because restorative practices is just a portion of the broader umbrella, but I think that somehow,
And I thought I saw that in your,
oh,
but maybe
Can you repeat your question? I'm sorry.
attention to racial equity. Was it in here? I thought I looked at this, it's been a little while since I looked at it all. I think as a,
You know, we had those in a sample ad. We
Oh,
had that.
okay.
That might be where you saw that.
I mean, can we
We
either
can add that too, yeah.
I mean, that's my feeling, that needs to have its own line.
As a priority or as a, I guess I'm looking for
We just
some
need
kind
it, we really just need it as a topic, because these things are just talking about topics.
I think
Right.
strength or weak, you don't call them weaknesses, you call them something
Right,
else.
challenges.
Challenges, weaknesses
no
and
weaknesses.
challenges.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, we were.
Improvements
I
is
mean,
how
we're
it's worded on the
advertising
survey.
ourselves as a diverse district,
Mhm.
Yep,
and to do that without an awareness of
now
Mhm.
the racial.
how we are diverse
Mhm.
would be,
So the intention would be, by putting those in the surveys, to find out from your constituents whether or not they think that those areas are strengths,
Mhm.
yes.
where you're strong in those areas, or whether you need improvement in those areas.
Yeah,
Right. And,
Okay.
and then would it also, that I assume would appear on there, they'd be able to choose that as a priority for the district?
Yes, we'll put
Okay.
it in the priority too.
Yeah.
Mhm. In 3 places, in 3 ways.
So I'm hearing restorative practices and racial equity in all 3 of the sections, strengths, challenges, and priorities.
yes.
Okay. Got it.
And then you definitely want to scratch the Common Core one
I
As a
think so.
priority.
It's a non-issue in this.
as a priority.
community.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Peggy, you said that you wanted to wait and see what people
Well, I
said
don't know,
back.
I,
Strength of curriculum is a issue. but
We have that under priority.
I know, yes, strength of curriculum and how rigorous our curriculum is an issue, but,
But for the alignment with
Just
state
be aware,
standards.
we've done many of these. I just want to caution, the more choices are
Yeah.
given,
I understand.
Yeah.
it spreads out the diversity.
It spreads out the
Right.
responses.
Right.
You won't get a central theme,
Gotcha.
perhaps, in some, so we just want to caution you on how
Sure.
the mechanics of a survey.
When I think of Common Core, I think of something a decade ago,
Mhm.
and not today, not,
I just taught a class in Common Core last night.
Oh, yes, good.
Not very exciting.
Having said that, do you ever allow for fill-in, besides the very last section where you say, is there anything you forgot? Do you allow for fill-ins for if people don't see something on that list that they'd like
They
to be a
will,
priority?
they will go ahead and mention it. in
Okay,
the-
they will have an
Mhm.
opportunity to do that.
Absolutely.
And then, I mean, I know that adds extra work for you guys, because
Well,
then you have to
that's
read them
okay.
all and try to categorize them, but,
You know, if we hear from 100 respondents on a central theme that we don't have listed here, we'll know that's a priority.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
maybe I should rephrase that thing on the Common Core. In Illinois, I don't think it's an issue. In Florida, maybe,
Minnesota,
or Minnesota, but not particularly in Illinois at present.
Okay.
we'll remove that. Fair enough.
All right. Then on attachment D, gotta get over there, page 9. When we get to the point where you decided who you want to invite to the focus groups, we have a sample letter to be sent to those invitees.
We're looking at you, Lori.
So attachment D, basically it's just saying, hey, we're gonna do some focus groups. We would like for you to, we're inviting you to be an attendee. Please RSVP, let us know if you can come. Here's what group you would be in. Here's where and what time that would be. So it's just to keep you from having to make up your own letters all the
Yeah, that's
time.
great.
But you can
Uh-huh.
adjust these however you want. This would not be put on your website. This would be sent out only to those
To
people
those
invited to.
invitees.
And then attachment E is what we will be asking in the focus groups, in the open forums, and the sheet will be available for those people who do not feel comfortable voicing their opinions, and then they can turn these into us. We also list my email address up in here so that people can, and they do, they email us after the fact and say, I didn't want to say anything, or I don't have a sheet, but
Absolutely.
here's my input. So that's what's there. And for you board members, this is your homework. We're going to be asking you these questions too, so be prepared to answer.
Okay.
And then attachment F is actually the sample letter where you could invite the people who would serve on the interview committees. And you would let them know, when we decide for sure how you want to do that interview process, it sounds like you're probably going to be leaning toward 3 different days. We would then typically have a schedule made up where we would have the people meet probably with the administration first. When they come in that day, they would meet with the administration. Then they would have an opportunity to meet with staff members. And then they would have the interview with the community people and then end up with the board, because that would be their second interview with the board.
And that's one where we ask them to prepare a presentation to share with you on a topic of their choice. So it's a very inclusive day, a big day for them. And for you.
It'll be a long day with them.
Yeah.
And probably we would build some time into, because of all of that you've got going on in your district, we'd build some time for them to spend some one-on-one time with Dr. Preston, or Dr. Williams, I'm sorry. So that there could be some
Sure.
That's important.
back and forth there. Okay, let me look at my agenda here. Let's talk about transition services a little bit. Translation services. It's all transition too, I'll tell you.
guess.
Kevin, you want to talk a little bit about translation services then?
We have a couple quotes that are additional expenses for the board. For the Spanish documents that we need translated, we've described some of those, but also the survey and the things that we need to share with the public. We want to make sure we're fully transparent and inclusive for the native French speakers and native Spanish speakers. We have the survey, we'll make some adjustments, we have the survey in Spanish already. So really, the other documents that we need translated into Spanish, we have a quote from somebody from our firm who's a native Spanish speaker for $150 to translate all the rest of the documents into Spanish, including formatting and electronic versions and things like that. On the French side, we do need the survey translated into French as well as the other documents. We don't have a version of this survey, the adjusted survey, in French yet. So that, plus the letters and the other things that we need to post on your website. I talked to somebody from the University of Illinois up the road here. His name is Jean-Jacques. He's got a kid at one of your Urbana schools.
Oh, yeah.
He'll do it for $250.
I thought it said 350.
$350, okay. I may be misquoting, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Did
I think
It's $350, I apologize.
I'm thinking.
He's eager to do it. He's, like I said, he's connected to the community already in more ways than one. He lives here certainly, but also he's got a child in one of your schools. He's helped out in some of the functions here. So I was doing all kinds of calls and emails in the last few days here, and I found him. So it's not 100%.
Okay.
I told him, don't do anything. I told David not to do anything on the Spanish side. And so the board gave me approval to expend those dollars on the board's behalf. But I think it's an important feature, and we need to get going on this because we're going to start
Sure.
posting things
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
quickly.
yeah.
So I need some, I know it's not an action item, you'll take action on it, but I want to get a consensus here from the board if that's okay with you.
That's $500 for translation. I think that's-
Unless I could talk my wife into doing for free, I don't know.
Hey,
All right.
No.
can she have them done by tomorrow?
Does she have that much spare time, Paul?
Does
Not
she like
really.
chocolate?
Yeah, she does like that.
I just need a consensus one way or another, and I hate to
I'm
spend
in
money.
favor. I'm in favor of this. I think it would be very valuable. I mean, we need to reach all areas of our community.
Right.
And I personally do not want to leave any section out,
I hear
you
you.
know.
I hear you.
So I feel it's very important.
Yeah. Seems reasonable. We
And
obviously
those
clearly
are for
could
the
do it.
documents that we
Okay.
just went over. The ones that I said this would need to
They'll
be,
be
this
public
would be
documents.
translated. This
Sure.
would, basically, we're talking about the survey, the French survey,
Mhm.
okay? And then we're talking about the announcement and how people can get
On the
involved.
website.
And all the letters
Uh,
and stuff, so.
And, yeah. And the time, when we go through the timeline, we want that timeline to be out there.
Right.
And then when we get to the point where we have the profile
Mhm.
made, we want the profile to be out there. So those are the
Right.
documents we're talking about that need to be translated.
Mhm.
Didn't think
So all your public has equal access, and
Mhm.
you're not eliminating
Mhm.
anybody's
Mhm.
ability to
Mhm.
gain information.
I
about
think
this
it's a proper
process.
investment of $500.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what we
Yeah.
did not talk about, though, is we did not get a quote for translation
In-
services.
different
During the
translations.
meetings.
Oh,
During
really?
meetings.
And I-
We,
Oh,
I'm sorry,
interpretation.
we didn't
Yeah.
anticipate.
I think
interpreters.
we'll have individuals that are on staff that'll be able to do that.
Just to be clear, though, are those staff members
Will they-
possible participants? You know, I don't want to put someone in an awkward position. I
They
guess is
would
what-
not be the native French speaker then. It could be, but they would probably participate in the English-speaking groups.
Okay, I just want to put that out
Yeah.
there. I don't want to eliminate anybody's participation
No.
because they're interpreting for a different group.
Would
Yeah.
that be something that they could reach out to Lupe or somebody,
Yes,
you
we
know, in
have
charge of
that
that?
done at our other meetings.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, we have resources.
Will
Okay.
we need a sign language interpreter for anything? We always have
That's a good
somebody at
question.
graduation.
Mhm.
If it
So
comes
I-
up,
I
I think,
get-
if it comes up and we have a need for it, I think Lori would be able to arrange for it.
Okay.
And I would think, I don't know if you have any staff members who are in need of sign language at an open forum, but typically you would need them only probably at the parent community open forum, I
Mhm.
would think.
Mhm.
But that's, again, your
Mhm.
decision to make.
Mhm.
Okay, we ready to move on? All right, let's talk about timeline now.
That's page 12.
Page 12. We have actually two timelines that we want to talk about. Oops, I'm sorry. We have been talking solely about the superintendent search up to this point, okay? So we want to continue to look at the timeline for the superintendent search, and then we're going to flip the page and talk about the timeline for the assistant superintendent searches. All right? So tonight is the planning meeting. The very next thing that we have on our timeline is the advertising of the position, the recruiting of the candidates, accepting applications and screening applications, interviewing, basically. All of that, we will begin tomorrow, and we will have that all done by April the 11th. Okay? So that's approximately 2 months' worth of time, which is a good amount of time.
It's a good window.
That's a good window, all right?
Okay.
We typically would have the focus groups and the open forums a little sooner than what we've got in our plan here.
Mhm.
The reason for the delay is because of having to have the translations done,
Mm. Mhm.
okay? When we got a couple of quotes to start with, which were much higher
Yes.
than what we're proposing to you, we had as much as a 2-week time frame to get the translations done.
Mhm.
And not knowing where we were gonna be able to land, the next shortest, I guess, time frame was 5 to 7 days
Mhm.
to get the translations done,
Gotcha.
hopefully.
Mhm.
So that's why we pushed back starting the focus groups until March.
Okay.
So we're recommending March 6th and 7th to do the focus groups and the open forums, basically because that stays away from your board meetings.
Uh-huh.
And we don't want to convolute your board meeting with us, but it would require you to have another board meeting on one of those 2 nights, either the 6th or the 7th. And we had to put all 3 of our schedules together to try to figure out days when we could also
Mhm.
all get here, or at least 2 of us get here, okay? So March 6th and 7th are, I think, a Wednesday and a Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah. And I assume they're not big days. I don't have the district calendar in front of me, but those of you, and maybe you already checked
We
this. Those
we
aren't-
kind of tried to look at those. We know
Good, okay.
we know everything's not put out on those calendars.
Yeah.
And, if there's a conflict, there's a conflict.
We're in
Mhm.
session, we're not,
Right.
okay.
And then if we have to go into a third date, it looks like the Friday probably would work better for us
Okay.
rather than the Tuesday,
Okay.
That's fine.
if we decide we need to
But
do
everything
that.
that week,
6,
Mhm.
7.
everything that
Mhm,
week.
mhm.
Yeah.
Typically, yes.
Uh-huh.
So then we're gonna be busy over the weekend
You sure are.
because,
Yeah.
huh?
You sure are.
Because we have to culminate all this data.
Yeah.
And what we did try to do then was hit your regular board meeting for coming back and presenting the profile to you, because that's not going to take a long time, and we don't want you to have to schedule yet another board meeting,
Gotcha.
okay? By the 21st of
Well,
April.
we meet on the 1st and 3rd, so actually this is the second Tuesday.
But
The
in
12th.
in March,
That's March.
we're meeting on
Because
the
of
1st
spring
and
break.
2nd of March.
Oh, I hadn't caught up to that. Well, that's
Yeah.
fine.
We
That's
took a
good.
look.
Changed it up.
We
I
took
was
a look.
fine with the
Yeah.
meetings, as long as you stick to Tuesday night for special meetings,
Yeah.
as much as, yeah, it's here.
As much as possible.
Yeah, which you did, which
Yeah.
is fine.
Okay, okay. So by April 21st,
Mhm.
applications are due by the 11th, up above. By the 21st, we will have conducted our interviews, vetted the candidates that we are going to recommend to you, and we'll be ready to present that slate to you on April the 22nd. Now, the reason I picked April 22nd, which I believe is a Monday, is because you don't have a board meeting that night. But also because during that night, we're going to start off that night doing an interview workshop with you guys. We're going to talk about how to interview. Huh?
The one day I'm not gonna be here.
Oh, well, we can change it if we need to.
Well, that would be nice.
Well, we could record it too.
Yeah, that's true, we can,
We could record it.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
It's not, it's better than nothing.
Okay.
We,
I
So-
prefer to be here. I will be coming back.
okay, the
I'll be out of
21st
state
is
for
Easter.
several days.
Yeah, it's Easter. We could, okay, let me tell you the reasoning for the dates I picked, okay?
Mhm,
And then we'll
sure.
figure out what we want to do. I picked the 22nd because we've got you, we would be giving you the candidates' information, all their entire application file. We would be talking about each of the candidates, giving you a little spiel about them, and doing that interview training. And then we would be having you do your first interviews that Friday night, Saturday morning. That's why we have it Monday, to give you some time in there.
Those
If-
packets are thick and homework to do, so we want
Mhm.
to give some time for that process to take
So if
place.
we need to stretch it back, we can, and then I'll tell you how that affects everything else going forward, okay? Okay, so we would have you interviewing the 5 to 7 candidates on April 26th and 27th, which would be, typically we have you do a Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and then Saturday morning to get those in. Candidates like to be gone for an interview on a Friday evening, afternoon, and Saturday to not be so obvious what they're doing in their districts.
Especially if someone's coming in from out of town, New York, or you never know. You want to give some options to candidates.
Then on the 27th, after you finish interviewing your last candidate, we've got you narrowing down, stay in after that last interview and narrowing down to your 3 finalists. Okay? Then the next week, we have you bringing those 3 finalists back. I designated May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and I think I did that because, huh?
With the option of the 4th.
Yeah,
The option of the 4th.
with the option of the 4th if you were gonna do a 1-day
Right.
round robin thing. And I was picking a Saturday if you did that, okay? But you could change those dates, but you don't wanna wait too long or you're gonna lose your candidates, okay?
They're interviewing other places.
And we're also trying to get this done so that there's time
Yeah.
for the assistant superintendent's part to come in. So that's why we're trying to put this in a real tight time frame.
Plus, the
Okay.
earlier you do it, if you get a contract worked out earlier, then maybe there could be transition with the current superintendent and involvement with the assistant superintendent hires, and it just flows better that way.
Yes.
Okay, so then if you stay then, or meet on the 4th, maybe meet on the 4th, talk about your 3 candidates that you just interviewed, pick your person, then you start having a conversation about how do you want to vet this person that you picked. Do you want to do a site visit? Then we got to get that scheduled. Do you want to do your own reference checking? We recommend you do. Are you going to do an official deep background check? We recommend you do. We've got to get that going right away because it's going to take time to do that, okay? And we realize this is like right when school's about ready to get out too. We understand it's going to be a busy time. We also want to have time in there for the contract to be negotiated. There's going to be some give and take and some back and forth. The first contract you hand to your candidate, that's probably not going to be what it's going to look like. There's going to be some negotiation. We're going to recommend that they whip that right over to Sarah Bocek, the attorney for IASA, and say, go through this. It's a two-way street at that point, so you've got to leave some time for that negotiation. So we have, in this calendar, we have you slated the week of May 12th. I didn't identify a day, but the week of May 12th, you take formal action on hiring your superintendent. And then the superintendent assumes duties July 1st. Now let's leave that calendar for just a second and flip over to the assistant superintendent calendar, which is the very next page. This kind of flows in between here a little bit, okay? So we have that next week. I just picked 2 days that we happen to be available. It might not work out with Dr. Williams, but sometime next week we would like to meet with him to plan out the search process for the 2 assistant positions. Okay? We're taking the board out of the search process for those 2.
Okay.
We're going to put you in the hiring process, but take you out of the search process. Okay? So February the 14th, again tomorrow, we will get it out there, advertise it, same 2 months worth of time. By the 18th, we will have already interviewed and done the superintendent candidates. So the following week, we're going to be doing the assistant superintendent interviews. We are.
Yeah.
Okay? So the week of the 19th, then, we will have already
Of
presented.
April, we're in April.
April, I'm sorry, April.
Yeah, we're in April.
April, sorry.
Yeah.
What'd I
You
say?
left it, I was worried that folks at TV might think that
Oh.
we were still in March.
I might still be in March, but you're going to be in April. Okay, so by the week of April the 19th, we will present the slate of candidates that we recommend to Dr. Williams, because he's still,
In charge
working
of the
for you
district,
and in
right.
charge. And then, hopefully, you get your superintendent named, and then your new superintendent can work with your interim superintendent to actually do their interviewing and vetting of the assistant superintendent. So we actually get your new superintendent involved prior to July 1st.
Which is very important.
Sure.
We have you taking action by June the 15th on them. Now, that's real tight for them because, July 1st is when typically you're going to start. Now, you can do a contract where they start July 15th or something like that. That happens. You can negotiate the starting time. So, originally we were talking about trying to get all this done by June 1st, okay? Then getting the translations has interfered with our timeline some.
Yeah.
From the time that you hired us to the time that we could get this planning meeting going, there was some time in there, so we're losing some time that we normally would have scooted everything up. So-
We're making things tight at the end.
Yeah, we're
so-
making things very tight at the end to
Okay.
get people in
It's
before
still
July
up for the
1st.
process to work, and a lot of people involved, which is what you want.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Now, whatever we decide to do with dates, we need to nail down dates tonight, because
Right.
we've got to get this going. We've got to get this out.
Mm-hmm.
But dates can be changed if we find that they need to be changed, okay? So you're not stuck with something necessarily if it's not going to work.
Yeah.
We probably can't move things up much, but we can definitely move them back if we need to, later.
Yeah. But recognizing every time we move things later.
Right.
It's,
It just delays when your people can
Yeah.
start, get hired, yeah.
all right. I mean, it's very ambitious, but it seems, as you say, it's a good window of time that we need for the important parts. And having these dates ahead of time that have been vetted on the district calendar and on our, so we have them all set aside. I really appreciate the clarity that you've provided.
Diane has
So-
done a really good job
Yeah.
making sure that we didn't disrupt your schedules as much as possible, given that you've got 3 consultants
Yeah,
and I
Thank
teach
you.
at night and things like that.
Sure.
So we're trying to make this
yeah.
as transparent and as inclusive as possible, which is what your goal is,
Mhm.
but also allow for the process to unfold in the way that we know works.
Yeah.
So let's go back to April the 21st
And the superintendent.
on the superintendent's timeline on page 12. That's not going to work for Ruth Ann, correct?
That Monday, the 22nd, when you're going to conduct our interview.
The Monday, I'm
workshop.
sorry, yes, the Monday. Does the,
Is it 23rd work?
And I won't be here the 23rd. I'm going to be gone the 19th through the 23rd. Is the 24th pushing it too tight, or is somebody not available to do it that Wednesday?
well, the only issue with the 24th is that you're going to, 2 days later, be interviewing candidates.
Right.
And so what you're saying is we have an extensive amount of homework to do.
And extensive is underplaying it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have probably a packet about like that of all the candidates' applications. You're going to want to spend time going through all of them. You're going to have to be developing questions that you're going to be asking in your interview. We're going to kind of guide you through that, but you're going to have to figure out which questions you're going to ask. That's going to take some time. So that meeting on the 22nd is going to take some time.
It's a big meeting.
Now, what I have done before, when this issue has come up, is that we can go ahead with the rest of the board, and then one of us could come back and meet individually with Ruth Ann.
Or Ruth Ann, a participation by phone is allowable under state laws as well. It's not the same as being here, I get that, but you'll receive the same information at the same time and be part of the discussion. Don't know if that's a doable thing, I don't know what your schedule is or where you'll be or whatever.
But we would not be able to give you the materials ahead of time.
Right, we would.
to take on vacation with you or wherever you're
Right.
gonna be.
We would have to scan those to you by email, Lori would or something the next morning. We're trying to throw out some options, that's all.
Do what?
Move it up
To the 18th?
Yeah, I'm, been sitting here looking at this, you're accepting and screening the applications, February 14th through April 11th. Tell us what you will be doing
We're going to
the
be.
11th, 12th,
Okay.
13th, 14th,
On the
15th,
12th,
the
on
week
the,
before.
on the 12th and 13th, we're going to be doing our screening interviews. So we're gonna be interviewing about 15 to 20 people, we anticipate, maybe, hopefully. Might be 10 to 15, okay? Then we have to have time to do our vetting process. So we could move it up. We could move it up. It's just going to really rush us if we may not be able to get a hold of people to do our vetting is the problem. And that's one thing we pride ourselves on is
Sure.
vetting people well.
Making sure
Yeah.
your people that we present to you are cleared through our process, which is very intense.
Totally.
Yeah.
That reflects in our success rate, and we call all references and double, triple check every credential, and that's part of our process.
So let
That
me,
takes
ask-
time.
let me ask a question about what's really going on that
Okay.
night. You're doing the training, and then the presentation of the slate is simply handing us the packet with a seven.
With a little oral discourse.
With
I
oral
think,
discourse
on Yes, each one. yes.
On every
Right.
candidate.
So my point being that sounds like a closed meeting.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
All right. Those are not videotaped, that's what I'm
Right.
getting at. Those are orally, are taped but not videotaped.
That's correct.
Another possibility is we could, on the 18th, hold that meeting, but not give you the slate that night. We could do the training and the developing the questions.
I was getting close to
And then we
asking.
could come back on the 22nd to actually give the candidates the slate.
So, but the training doesn't create the homework, the slate creates the homework, I'm
That's right.
assuming.
True,
That's right.
true. I was
I'm
just
not-
trying,
I'm
I
not
was
sure
trying to
that's
find a
how-
way to
It would,
include.
we think could be part of the
Everything.
training,
Mhm.
the interview training. It's just.
And question development.
I mean, that seems like a compromise.
I mean, you have to come twice. We have to
It
meet
puts,
twice.
it puts another board meeting on your schedule.
Yeah, I mean, that's the downside of it.
Mhm.
No, it's not a downside, it's
It's
yeah,
important,
that's what we gotta
it's
do.
important.
It's the reality, right.
Yeah, that's the reality, we're gonna just get pounded with as many meetings as we have to have. And
Well,
of
I
all
don't-
the ones that's gonna be, where I really need to be here, I can't be here because I've already had plans.
What about calling in on the 22nd,
Well, we're not gonna be in an open meeting,
correct?
that's one thing.
Yeah, she's gonna have to be in a
And
place
the
where
problem
she's-
is, I'm on personal time and I'm not away on my job doing
Mhm.
something.
I hear you.
Where we have, that I would have to be away on my job
Right.
and then have a moment to be able to call in if I wanted to participate,
Okay.
if we were having an
Right.
But
open
I-
meeting or a closed meeting.
Right.
We've been through this before with
Mhm.
someone
Yeah,
else.
you
Okay,
can't do it on
okay.
vacation.
Okay,
So, yeah.
fair enough, I just,
No, I'm just,
Trying to throw out options.
I'm not irritated, I'm irritated, and it's nobody's fault. It just happens to be the one and only time I'm gonna be able
Yeah.
to go.
Well, that,
And meet one of my, and
No,
like I
it's
said,
fine.
it's it's totally
I get
personal,
it, I
but,
absolutely get it.
well,
and I'm just.
we should also ask, that's the Monday after Easter. Are there other people who will be out of town and haven't realized that that's the Monday after Easter yet? Okay.
I would prefer to just have one meeting. I don't see any sense in meeting on the 22nd and the 24th. I think we meet once. Because the purpose of the meeting on the 22nd, if we meet on the 22nd, would
Mhm.
just simply be the training.
The
If we
training
meet
rooms.
twice, is the nature of the meeting, would it engender discussion amongst us? The logic is going through my head right now, is if 6 of us meet on the 22nd,
Mhm.
and by the way, may be a very different 6 because that's right after the election.
Yes, and that's another reason, I'm
We
glad you
don't
brought that
know.
up. That's another reason we've got the dates the way we've got them.
Yeah, but if there's not discussion to occur that night, it's more or less gathering information from you to help us move forward. And then if one of you needs to repeat that on the, and we, I know that
Mhm,
the clock's running when we do that.
mhm.
And you meet on the 24th with them, then that at least gives, and you would have the compressed time to go through the applications.
Right.
But it would at least give the rest of us
I have
time to.
nothing else to do those evenings. I mean,
I-
I'm home alone, have
I'm not,
plenty of time to
I'm worried about the rest of us in having time to.
cramming for a test,
And in
basically.
particular, if there are new members to the board, it's gonna be new to them.
There
Well,
will be discussion in the, just our interview workshop will generate some discussion, but developing the questions that you're going to be asking, there's going to be some discussion there. We will give you some information well in advance of that meeting that Ruth Ann can participate in, because we're gonna give you a lot of sample questions to get your mind thinking about what kinds of things do we wanna ask, and we're going to be asking that board members send like 3 or 4 or 5 questions that they really would like to have asked, and send those to the board president to compile kind of, narrow them down to, maybe a master list, maybe 10 questions, 12 questions, something like that. And then you'll have some discussion about, what are those is this what we really want to ask? Is there anything else we want to ask? There will be some discussion, but it's not going to be like lots of discussion. So she could be involved in that prior to her being gone and give her input. She just wouldn't be there for the final discussion. And it doesn't have to be all 3 of us coming back and talking to her on the 24th. It actually, we could leave her list of candidates with Lori, and then we could have a phone conversation. It doesn't have to be a trip over here.
I don't want you to be shortchanged.
Well, yeah, I don't know,
Right.
I'm not planning on
Yeah,
getting
I don't want you to be
shortchanged.
shortchanged. I'm well aware that
That's why I'm being a.
no one has to worry about anybody being shortchanged here, because we're all gonna make sure we're not.
It's a list of all the days, I have to be
Yeah.
gone.
Well, we apologize.
That's fine.
No,
Yeah.
don't, who knew,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
Okay.
One of those
if there's a
things.
way to work this so that so that you have full opportunity to have input, and if you're willing to take the extra step via phone call or via
Sure.
face-to-face, let me suggest a compromise. If we met on the evening of the 23rd, you wouldn't be here, I understand. But that way, you could go right into it, maybe the morning of the 24th? Early in the morning on the 24th? To have the conversation with you and then that way you could have the material the longest length of time possible.
Because you're saying face to face, because if we move them over to being here on the 23rd, and.
One of them could stay overnight.
Yeah, staying overnight, and then I could swing in on the next
First thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It,
Mhm.
Would
well,
that
it
work?
sounds like a good possibility.
That works. And
Would
then-
that work?
Present the slate on the 23rd.
23rd rather than the 22nd.
On the
Morning of the
24th.
24th, so
Mhm.
in actuality, you're not being shorted except maybe sleep time,
Yeah.
Um, that, Tuesday night.
Mhm.
But that could keep things moving. I recognize that you've crammed a lot into the final few weeks, and I'm hoping that,
You're back in town early, the 24th?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'll be
I just
getting
don't wanna
back
put
on
you
the
in an awkward
23rd.
spot
It's
either.
just late. It's
Okay.
just the
Thank you.
flight's in late and driving over from Bloomington.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
So does that work with the entire board?
Is that okay
Yeah.
To
with the
move
rest of
the
board?
22nd to the 23rd?
So we'll meet with you on the evening of the 23rd.
23rd.
23rd,
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
And then we'll
And-
speak with you then on the morning of the 24th.
And that will be a closed session meeting.
Mhm.
is anybody familiar enough with with the election, our new
You have,
members of the board would be formally seated by that point in time as
I
well,
have that
so that
written
they could be a
down.
part of
If
the
everything's
closed meeting.
What typically happens is the county clerk has to certify the election,
right,
and it's the meeting after that happens. It's usually one meeting later, but it has
It's
slipped.
been past
I
that.
think the state law says within 45 days of the certification.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Well, we-
On
That
my
office is
tentative,
behind
on my
doing a lot of
tentative
stuff right now.
schedule where I
Legal.
included everything that we have to do as well as you guys,
You think the
I
election
had,
stuff's not gonna be
likely,
behind with
you
it
may
because
have an
of-
organization meeting on the 16th of April.
Uh-huh.
So you do your senior dia on the 16th, and
So if you have the new board seated on the 16th, then we're not doing anything with presenting the slate until we have the new board.
That was
Yeah.
that was my point.
Yeah.
So that,
Being that way, yeah.
new board
Hopefully if it's the 16th.
We would want new board members.
Right.
are then ready
They would be at
and
that meeting,
able
yeah.
to participate, from a legal viewpoint, are
Right.
able
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
fully participate in an exec session.
Right.
Because that would be an
Right.
exec session.
Mhm, mhm.
Does that, if the 23rd, 24th works,
That works
I think
for me.
that might be the best way for all of it. We can't all meet early in the morning, I understand that. But it would give you the chance, even a breakfast meeting, if you need to
Right.
get to your office.
Okay.
Yeah,
Continue.
that works for me, and I
Okay.
appreciate it if that's gonna work.
Let's see if the 23rd doesn't work for you, I'll speak up.
No, it'll
it'll
work.
work.
We're just,
It'll work. We're just talking about tactics here. We'll make
Yeah.
it work.
All right. All right. How's that for everybody?
Perfect.
Okay, good.
okay, so any questions, any other questions about the proposed timeline?
I would really hope that by our, Lori, what are our scheduled meeting dates in June?
In June,
It's on this sheet.
no, it ends in June 1st, so I think there's June 4th, and then June 18th.
Yeah.
If we can aim, let's leave it as June 15th, by no later than June 15th. But if, by any chance, the assistant superintendent searches can make it by June the 4th, that'd be great. But that may just be absolutely too tight.
On the superintendent search?
No, 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 no.
No, assistant,
Oh, assistant, I got you.
assistant.
I'm sorry.
Assistant.
Misunderstood.
And there's plenty of room to do that, because we've got, from the time we give the slate to the administration,
Mhm.
we've given them, what, 2.5 weeks?
Yeah, it depends on on our
Right,
appointed.
right.
Right.
New-
It kind of has to fall into
So
place.
I just jumped back to June 15th.
I
It can
understand.
absolutely be done
I'm just letting
prior
you
to
know that
yeah.
if we can make it by June the 4th,
Absolutely.
that'd be fantastic.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
If
Got
it
it.
takes a special meeting, it
Yeah.
takes a special
Got it.
meeting.
Yeah.
I understand the issue of only a 15-day notice between our action and
Mhm.
somebody having to announce a
Mhm.
resignation
Right.
at another place and be ready to start within 2 weeks is
Right,
really pushing.
right.
We'll shoot for that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Wow, that was a lot. Okay, let's,
Advertising campaign.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so Kevin, you want to talk advertising? You wanna cover that?
I'm sorry?
You want to cover it?
Sure. So advertising options, we talked last time that we met about the possible advertising for this position in Ed Week.
Is that me?
Is that me?
No.
You see you see the Ed Week one as your first bullet point there. We recommend not doing that, only because people don't read magazines anymore, and certainly superintendents looking for jobs are not looking in magazines to look for jobs. We'll get the word out there. We have, you can look at the AASA, that's a national one. That's something that may appeal to you, because I think you are, I'm hearing a consensus that a national reach is important to this board and to this community.
Yes.
The AASA online could give us a month for $410. I think that might be a wise investment. That's something that we can talk about after I finish kind of all the options here.
Okay.
The National Alliance of Black School Educators is now $250 for 3 days.
30 days,
30 days, I'm sorry, what did I say?
3.
I lost a zero there. 30 days for a month. I talked to John Sawyer, who's one of our associates. We're going to place it in the Illinois Association of Black School Educators here in Illinois for free. So we got that going for us. The National Association of Latin American Superintendents online is $100 for 6 weeks. Again, because you want a diverse candidate pool, that might be a good investment. Again, I talked to David Negron, one of our associates. He's going to put it in Illinois one for free. So I think those are 3 possible broad national reach outlets that you may want to consider. AASA, Black School Educators, Latin American Superintendents, those 3 targeted
National.
groups. What did I say?
Those 3 national ones.
Those three national ones.
We've got the state ones
We would like
covered.
you to strongly consider that. Don't have to make a decision right this second, but earlier than later, by the end of this meeting, we're going to need some consensus on that. We do the School Exec Connect, of course, on our own website for free at no cost as part of the fee. We do the recruitment. About a third of our people that we place are now recruited by us. We've already started that process. We have some good candidates we think that might meet the profile when that's developed. And then on your district website, of course, the district link will be connected to our Exec Connect website where all the applicants are posting their information and applying for the position. So have a discussion and some consensus on the 3 national searches, I think, is the focus that we'd like you to consider.
The print ad that's there is just an example of what you would get if you did a print ad in Ed Week.
Yeah.
It really doesn't allow you to say much of anything.
It's tight.
And a lot of search websites will pull and pick our ad from some of these other ones, and you don't even have to advertise on them. I know the very first applicant that came through our portal we've already got applicants coming in, okay? We did go ahead and on our website, we just announced we have 3 searches. More detail to come, but we wanted the word to start getting out. The very first person saw it on, what is
What's
it,
it?
K-12 job site or,
K12jobsite.com,
yeah, and we didn't advertise there. They pulled it from our website already, you know?
They're clever
So,
about pulling stuff.
yeah.
I don't know where they
Yeah.
get it. They're
Yeah.
good at
So
that stuff.
it'll be out there.
Okay.
But to get the diversity in the
Yeah.
candidate pool that you guys were wanting, and to do the national search, we would recommend that you would take a look
Entertain
at
these
those
3
three
Yeah.
options.
Yeah.
I
Again,
agree.
it's not an action item, but if you do a consensus kind of thing, we can
Yeah.
incorporate that into our expenses.
It sounds like prudent spending on my part, but I was wondering, do you have any statistics on how many applicants you've gotten who were referred through those 3 national online?
I don't think that we do.
No.
We have lots of applicant data, but one of the questions that maybe we should ask, how did you hear about this posting?
That would be useful for.
Because of the back and forth between job sites, sometimes we'll post it on the IASA job site, it goes to K-12, it goes to LinkedIn. So they're duplicates, but the original source is sometimes hard to discern. So that's why we don't really have that kind of information typically.
Well, I would certainly support the 3, the American Association of School Administrators, the National Alliance of Black School Educators, and the Association of Latin American Superintendents. I mean, the fees are very reasonable, I think.
I think they are, and you're gonna
You
get
know.
most of the pool will be mostly Illinois pool, just so you know. We're gonna reach out to nationwide, and we've got the Illinois African American Association and the Illinois Hispanic Association of Superintendents for free,
Yeah.
because our associates are on those boards.
Right,
So I think it's a wise choice.
yeah,
And the regular one, just the IASA.
Right,
you know, that's- that
everyone
one's
goes
free
there.
too.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm in favor of your recommendation.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. So that's advertising.
Okay.
All right. So next, the template that we usually put on our website, just to give a little bit of detailed information about the position, and then we always refer them to the district's website. I understand that you are planning to upgrade your website or redo your website, or maybe that's a goal or something.
We have staffing challenges in technology
Okay.
right now, so timetables are hard to come up
Okay,
with at the moment.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, some things that we would typically put out there, we've listed here. I've highlighted in yellow some board input needed. Is there anything that we've misstated? I tried to find some things on your website to put in here. What's missing that you would like to have in here? First of all, the communities that are served. I
From,
know-
the community served is Urbana, you're correct on that.
It's
Okay.
just Urbana?
Yes.
Okay.
The one part of our mission statement that we really concentrate on and quote liberally is achieving every student's personal greatness. And I don't know if you're printing the whole mission statement. I doubt if you are.
We can put it in.
No, I don't.
Okay.
But that one phrase in there about
Mhm.
students' personal greatness
Okay,
kind of sticks. And then let me ask this question of you. We're an AP district, we're not an international baccalaureate type district. We also pride ourselves on the vast number of AP classes that we offer. Is that relevant, or is
Sure.
that?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
it is.
Okay,
Large AP course offering,
yes.
that is important.
And we pride ourselves on the diversity of students that are enrolled in our AP as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the award, what was it, 3 years ago?
It was the USD Board Report, Bronze Star at the high school, 2 years.
2 years in a row.
The News and World Report.
U.S. News Bronze Medal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They spelled out, and then the big one we got because of the,
The diverse,
health center.
I was gonna say, I think we need to say something about our own health center.
right.
Well,
at
I
the
forget
school.
it was,
I don't remember.
Yeah.
but it was a national award.
Yeah.
Is it silver? Did we get silver? Am I thinking?
Well, anyway, I'll,
Yeah.
If someone can find it and have Lori email that to us, we can add it.
Mhm.
Lori will be the one that'll be able to find it faster than the rest of
I get
us.
the, I forget the name
So-
of
Yeah,
it.
Lori,
I'm
yeah.
sure she has it in her
Because-
back
One more
pocket
assignment,
somewhere.
Lori.
I mean, we're the only school down south of Chicago that has our own health center attached to it.
Right.
Lots of districts have early childhood now.
But it is an award-winning, I mean, we're not in it.
It is an award-winning.
I mean, it is an award-winning early childhood program.
And the more stuff you can brag about,
It's NACE.
you know,
And AC
your
accredited, yeah, and,
candidates are suiting you as well.
yeah. Mhm.
Do we want any emphasis on sports at all?
No.
No, not necessary.
Well, I mean.
You know, I mean, you know, if we're Big 12 or,
Most high schools, you know.
it's, yeah, or wraparounds, you know,
Yeah.
athletics or what? Drama club, music. We do have good music programs. We do, actually.
Well,
that's-
we
we
have-
are one of the few
elementary
districts, we
music.
are one of the few districts that is fully committed to the arts curriculum from K through 12.
Yeah.
That's true.
So maybe a strong commitment to the fine
Staffed and-
arts. Yeah, I mean, that should be a strong commitment to the fine arts, because that's.
Yeah, that encompasses everything.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's important.
What about technology? Are you a one-to-one school? Are you not a one-to-one school? Okay.
We're not one-to-one. We'd like to be, but we're not there yet.
There's some challenges, it sounds like.
We've had staff that's been philosophically concerned about investing our technology dollars in a different way that they view as more effective than
Okay.
one-to-one.
Okay. Okay. Are we correct in the approximately 51,600 district residents in your district? I found that on an Urbana website. Urbana.
That's-
City of Urbana, I think.
No,
That's
it
more
wasn't-
than just
no,
the
it was,
city.
it was the district. It was a website that gave statistics about your district and the makeup of like
Oh.
age and population and median income and things like that.
Oh, is it like the chamber or the? 'Cause
That's
that's
probably
more than
about right.
Urbana's residents.
The,
but-
the Urbana population is what, about 42,000, and probably
Yeah.
the remaining 9,000 is adjacent to the adjacent to the city, but outside
Right.
the city. So
Yeah.
that 51,000 is probably
So-
about
I mean,
correct.
it really doesn't,
matter what that exact number is, but I just didn't want it to be like
Isn't
a
it more
hundred
important
thousand.
about,
I didn't want it to be 100,000 or 20,000, and we're,
well, but we
Don't
are
say it.
in a larger university community.
yes.
Yeah,
The county population is actually a little around 200,000.
yeah.
So, I mean, but the district population is probably
Right.
51, but the district lies in a larger community of
Right.
about 200,000.
Right, and I would hate to put that $200,000, or 200,000 number out there, because that's going to be misleading. If somebody reads that, they're going to think
Yeah.
that you have the entire area, where you don't, in your
Right. No,
district.
you're right.
in your
But it would be
district.
important to say the home of the University of Illinois. Oh,
Yeah.
you got
Yes,
it.
I have that.
Never mind.
University of
Mhm.
Illinois.
Does that need any elaboration? I mean, considering that we do often do collaboration with them, you know, like with the Cranard, or we have student teachers who come over from
I
the U
think
of I.
that'll be understood.
It'll be
Yeah.
understood,
Yeah.
okay.
Not only that, but we want candidates to do their homework, too.
Sure,
So,
No, that's a
I
good
mean,
point,
that's
yeah.
kind of a discovery point sometimes.
Good point.
And that one thing right there is gonna be very attractive to
Oh,
a
no
lot
doubt.
of candidates.
No doubt.
Because it's right here in your backyard.
Mhm.
Okay, then we listed your schools. Did we miss any?
I would take off Ready Academy.
It's no longer a school in the
Well,
district.
it's not our
It's
school.
not
It-
one of our
It's,
schools.
we.
It's an
well,
alternative.
It's a co-op?
Well,
It's
it's a
run by the
regional.
ROE.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
okay.
And it's a
It's-
regional school, right? not
Okay.
just our own.
Yeah.
That's good to know, because it was listed as a school on your district, school report card.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would also, under the student characteristics,
Uh-huh.
I question the low income. I think we're higher than 70%.
That's about
That was based,
This is all based on this
it's
public
based
report.
on your
Yeah.
school
Okay.
report card
Okay.
for 17-18.
Yeah.
It might be higher now or lower now.
Mhm. But yeah, you gotta put
It's
down
been
what it
trending upward
says.
for a long time.
Trending
Yeah, I
upward.
was gonna say, because I remember we got that grant because we were like, over 80%.
Some of our schools are over 98 or 97%. Some of our buildings are, but
Yeah.
as a district, that's,
Yeah.
I think that number's right.
Do you believe the demographics are right?
This is all public reported data.
It's what
from
it's on the Illinois
18
report
It's-
card.
it's all what's
That-
on your
that
report
seems
card.
pretty close, 37, yeah.
Staff information, we saw on the report card that you had 340 teachers for the 17-18 school year, so that's a pretty close number. It might be different
I
this
think
year.
our HR department will be able to give you absolutely current
Okay.
numbers.
Okay.
Thanks, Lori.
Financial information, we got that also off of the data that the district has to turn into the state. It's important for candidates to know that you're a PTEL district,
Yeah.
that you're tax capped. Union affiliation,
It's UEA, it's all UEA.
UEA,
Urbana Educated, it's a
It's
Subdivision
affiliated with the
of NEA.
IEA.
Right.
yeah,
IA.
so it's a wall-to-wall.
My research said that your contract's expired in 19, right?
It expires June 30th.
Of
Of 19.
19.
Okay. And because we will put that in there too. That's one of those things that you want the candidates to know.
That's
you know.
right.
We are in the midst right now of deciding how to proceed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any group that's not covered by the contract? Do you do you third-party contract any services or any
Food
Food
programs?
service and bus service.
Food and bus?
service and bus service.
Yeah.
And sanitation.
Yeah.
Cleaning.
Janitorial.
Custodial.
So
Our
the-
cleaning
no,
is
I think
actually
so.
a hybrid. Some district employees, but most of it's contract.
Okay. All right. We usually will put on the salary offered that it will be regionally competitive.
That's,
That's why we
It's
do
kind of a
the,
catch-all, yeah.
why we do the survey that we do.
Mhm.
We will list your website so that people can go, check you out. And then we will match up these dates to what we're actually doing. We just give a few key,
Right.
dates for the candidates, and then, we also just give them a reminder, you may have some people that try to apply with you,
Mhm.
through you. We want all the applications to come to us, so we direct them to us, and if anybody would try to apply through you, just refuse it and just tell them that they need to apply through us. That we're
And it's
handling
just
that.
your main website.
I'm sorry?
They would, your general website, they would be able to find where
Mhm.
the
Oh,
appropriate
absolutely.
places, okay.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. right, so we have to go back up and take a look at
We deferred the confidential versus open search.
Yes, that's right.
So I asked for this to be deferred so that we understood what parts, even in a confidential search, are also open. And confidential search simply means that the names of the applicants will not be disclosed until we're down to the final three.
Right.
That's the definition of confidential versus open. And I wanted the board to be aware of that, the community to be aware of that. That I think, my personal opinion is I think there's, first off, this is more open and public than any other search this board has ever done. And there are many, many opportunities without disclosure of the names along the way. So I prefer what you define as confidential, but I wanted to make sure that our public didn't understand that confidential did not mean confidential until the day we have somebody standing here and we
Right.
introduce them to
Got
the
it.
community.
Right.
But confidential means confidential up to the point of narrowing down the applicants to three.
And when you have the final three, we will help with headshots and little bios, so you can do a press release, or we can help you write that press release. We do that kind of stuff all the time, so that you, once again, have community engagement and transparency throughout the process.
Other board members, different opinions. That was just my opinion.
No, I agree, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's mostly, not mostly, it's to protect them too,
Right.
because they don't want their own
Right.
districts to, you know, get upset with them or whatever for their job search, and
It's
so
gonna
it's.
broaden your pool. If they're scared of ticking off their current Board of Education, they're not gonna apply, and they might be a
Exactly.
great fit for Urbana.
Right, right, so, yeah, just so the public knows that's why it's called
Especially
that.
if you're recruiting somebody that's not looking.
Right.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And that happens a lot, more than you
And
think.
I want our I believe that our district should be a district that is able to attract somebody who's perhaps not looking, but is sought, and this community is used to recruiting. We recruit basketball players, we recruit
Not lately.
people to be,
I rub it in, okay now.
I don't know why I'm saying that, I'm familiar with
but more importantly, this community has a history of recruiting people to the University of Illinois. So I think our larger community understands the concept and the attractiveness of recruiting, and not simply waiting to see
Right.
who walks in the door, but actually going out and trying to find somebody who will do a good job for us. We have a history of having outstanding superintendents, and so we need to keep that.
Absolutely. We're on board. We got you.
Other board members? All right.
Okay, so we're down to number 5. Is there anything that we haven't covered, or anything you're wondering about?
Our goal is to make you comfortable with this process. It's a lot of work. We get that on the Board of Education. It's the most important decision you're going to make, critically important, but we want you to be comfortable with the process.
What kind of snags have you seen? What kind of
Sorry about
snags
that.
have you seen? I mean, going through this, very long laundry list of dates and everything. Anything that stands out in your mind as a great big, oh, we didn't see that coming type of thing when you were all set up, and then, I don't know, a natural disaster, or I don't know.
Or is there anything in the process that is causing you a great deal of stress that you wish we would change a little bit? Besides
You're
giving you
asking
an
3
extra 2 months.
superintendents if board members cause any stress, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, no. I haven't had anything major that came up, anything that fell apart, or, trying to think of something
There are always some
that would
twists and
happen,
turns
there's
and happenings that,
Mhm.
that you hire professionals to handle, and we're on your side. We'll make this process work for your community. Snags, yeah, maybe a snag, but you get that thread away, and then you keep walking. And we'll make sure that takes place here.
And the timeline is okay,
For us,
yes.
yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we designed it that way. So it was okay for us. No. Yeah, I don't see any major problem. It's just, we talk about tight, you know, when we get to the end, it's gonna be tight. You're gonna be busy. Because we're doing the 3 positions, kind of all just, you know, bing, 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 we're gonna be extra busy at the end too. So I guess, you know, communication's just gonna really be key. We'll be communicating constantly with Lori. We've already communicated a lot with
I'll be living in Lori's
Lori.
basement, I
Yeah.
think.
You know, our intent is to try to be very, very, we don't want to just spend your money, you know, so we are all, you know, driving back tonight. There's no reason for us to spend the night tonight. When we do have to stay 2 nights or 2 days, you know, we will be staying the night. We're very cognizant of the fact that you've got budgets and you know, money's tight, and so we will do a good job for you there. We're not going to spend money unnecessarily. We'll keep you within budget. If there is something that would happen, well, okay, here's something that would happen, but it's not going to, hopefully not going to happen for you. Kevin and I just finished a search in Moline, Illinois, and the board decided they wanted to have the slate presentation on a night that we had a blizzard.
Oh.
And so we still had it. And Kevin and I drove through the blizzard to get to.
We saw about 60 or 70 wrecked cars.
Yeah,
We
to
just
get
kept going.
there, but we went, and then we ended up spending the night because we weren't gonna drive back through the
Yeah.
blizzard, you know, to go home,
Yeah.
and that was an unexpected, you know, expense. So those types of things might pop up
Because
and
we'll be
happen.
getting into some tornado season.
Yeah,
right?
we
Yeah.
could, we could. You
That's
know, ice,
natural
Talking weather,
disasters
it's
and-
gonna be all
ice
weather.
is something, you know, that could
Mhm.
happen in March, you know,
Oh,
that
sure.
could happen.
Mhm.
So if we look at the forecast, you know, we'll pay attention. The thing that could happen that would throw everything off is if you get ice on those focus group days,
March
and then
6th.
we have to try to figure out when to schedule those. That would be a ringer.
Or
That
if
would
you
be a
get
ringer.
2 or 3 board members get sick, or, you know.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff happens, you know,
Yeah.
so,
We'll just adapt.
we'll adjust.
We'll adjust.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, you know, March 6th and 7th will, you know, there'll be lots going on, and everyone in the community will know what's going on. Between now and then, how will people know that we're building up to this? Will that be solely through our website? And I worry a little bit about that, just because it is sort of, you know, being transformed and.
Well,
Um,
you know, it can be sent to your local media. They can announce it, you know, newspaper,
Lots of-
TV.
Lots of schools have social media outlets and text alerts for parents and community members and things like
Facebook.
that. So we're
Mhm.
typically using those kinds of avenues, whatever the district typically uses to get word out, whatever the word is. If you're canceling school, that's kind of
Yeah.
the word gets out, so we kind of mirror that kind of message and
Okay.
use that modality, whatever the modality is for your district.
So to notify people about the survey, because everyone will participate in that, notify them of
Yep.
the open forum, because everyone is invited to that.
Mhm.
So you'll be sending information to Lori that we can use to publicize through our avenues, our Facebook, our website.
Absolutely.
Well, what we
The
shared
documents
with
are
you.
here.
Right.
What we shared
Got
with
it.
you here. yeah.
Gotcha,
And that
okay.
will be sent out, email, we could send that email-wise through Skywork.
Gotcha,
That's not an
okay,
issue at all. It's all parents translated and.
gotcha, okay.
Yeah, we leave that up to the district as far as how you regularly communicate with
Okay.
your public.
And we have a gentleman in our audience who is one of the moderators of a very active parent advocacy group that you heard about, and they're really good at disseminating,
That's right.
spreading out a lot of,
Great.
you know, regular messages. So we do have people in the community who are
Good.
really good at spreading things for us.
Good.
We need that help. We
Yeah.
need that word out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking about out there, and without wanting to drag the meeting out, but I think we have 2 candidates for school board here tonight. Are you a candidate? I am. Okay. And
Great.
Tori, do you have do either of the 2 candidates have questions that they want posed tonight from what you've heard so far?
I have only one minor suggestion for the ad. You were our. Hi.
Hi.
I have only one minor suggestion for the ad while you were discussing it. Maybe escaped me, but you were talking about the qualities of our community.
and particularly about the school district.
Mhm.
And one of them that might be actually attractive for candidates that are coming, out of the district and actually out of the state would be the fact that we have a very, new and innovative dual language program that is actually thought after by many districts across the country. And we are actually an example on how to do this. And I think it will be very good to, to add that as one of the qualities that we have. Thanks.
We actually do
Dual
have.
language.
Yeah, we should have, sure, they have
Dual-
to, but maybe.
Dual language
We have
immersion.
dual language immersion programs in French and Spanish as one of our feature sets here on the template for the advertising.
Excellent.
Is that for you?
Or maybe
for the
innovative
board?
or.
Yeah, we
or-
didn't talk about it tonight. He doesn't have the written inventory.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Sure.
It is included.
So-
I apologize.
Yeah,
yes.
something like innovative or state-of-the-art.
Yeah.
I mean, we are one of the
State-of-the-art.
few communities across the country who has take the lead on integrating communities using languages in this way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is why we're insisting so much on the French and
Right.
Spanish.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you
No,
very
do-
much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tori, anything? All right.
Do you? Okay.
Okay.
So I did find the item for the brag sheet for the high school. So we were listed in 2016 as one of 20 schools in the country who were named as School of Opportunity
School of
School
Opportunity.
of
By what group?
by the, this is the Washington Post article from September, I can't read this, 12th, 2016. It's the national, it's at University of Colorado Boulder. Hold up, it's the national, I can't read this.
Yeah, and NEC.
I don't have my glasses.
That's okay.
You've given me enough information. I
Yeah.
can look it up.
Network, National Education Policy Center?
Yeah, NEPC, yeah.
Yeah.
National Education Policy Center, School of Opportunity.
Yeah, one of 20 schools in the whole country that year.
Cool.
National, say it one more time, I'm sorry.
NEPC.
I apologize.
NEPC,
Mike?
yeah, University of Boulder.
Education Policy Center. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I know, that was a big deal. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
All right.
That's great.
Anything else that you need from us?
Not, we've got what we need.
You're traveling home. It's 8:30, I believe.
Yep. We planned for a 2-hour meeting, so this is perfect.
All right. Anything from any board member?
And then if we just think of questions, follow-up questions, should we direct them to John to direct to you, or direct them to Lori to
Lori.
direct to you?
Let
What do we-
Lori.
Lori,
It'll be faster if Lori takes,
Is that all right with you, Lori?
but send it to both of us.
Yeah,
Lori
okay.
will be the one that'll,
if we just think of
Yeah,
anything that we want to
yes.
mention, then we'll just give them to them.
Or you
Yeah,
can-
you have until 10 a.m. tomorrow that she's gonna,
yeah, you can mail them directly to her.
Okay. No, I just meant
Your
all
email-
along
yeah,
the process.
Diane's
just to-
email address is right there.
yeah,
Sure.
my
Send it
email
directly
address
to-
is here too.
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
And you've got my card and
Mhm.
Tim's card,
Right.
our cell phones are on there, our personal emails, reach
Yeah.
out. We're here to support you,
Thank
whatever
you.
works for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
With that, a motion
Thank
to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.